Hey everybody, welcome back to Marketplace Growth by Accoil. This week we are talking about the tools we use to do all the things that we keep telling you how to do and what we do. So we're going to go and have a look at, we've got 4 tools to go over today. We're going to keep this one short and sharp and just give you a bit of a behind the scenes, behind the curtain peek at the tools that we use. And no surprises here, but there may be a few Atlassian tools in that mix. And with that, I'm Peter.
Hi, I'm Kate. How are you all?
So Kate, when we were talking about what to record today, one of the questions that we've actually gotten quite a few times is, so you're telling me to listen to my customers and then feed that back to my team. How do I do that? What tools are you using? So I thought we'd just talk about that today. So the 4 tools that we have, which again will come as no surprise to anybody, JIRA Service Management is on the list, Slack is on the list, HubSpot, and lastly, Confluence. Now, I should note, quick footnote, that there are a lot of other tools going on around this. So if you're talking to customers, things like Calendly, Google Meet, Zoom, et cetera, we're just talking about the way that we capture the conversations and that information and feed that back around the company today. So the quick workflow that we're going to talk through is, or the scenario I should say, is we're having a call or a conversation with a customer, usually coming in through support in JIRA Service Management. That's where this kicks off. And why don't you just walk us through what the process looked like for us in the Think Tilt days, Kate?
Sure. Gosh, if I can remember it, everyone, it's a couple of years ago now. So essentially a customer conversation would come in, and if they came in via Calendly, we would also then just pipe the confirmation into our support ticket in JSM. We used our form functionality, so we actually asked lots of questions and lots of closed questions so that we could then classify stuff more easily and be able to monitor trends over time. So that was the primary mechanism, and we tried to pump everything back through that where we could, so that we tried to make that our place that we talked with everyone. And meanwhile, what we also used to do was we used HubSpot, but we were a little bit, what would you say? We were probably more judicious how we used HubSpot, and that was purely just because of the price. We were very, we would watch how much we were spending on our tools. So we predominantly used that for our bigger customers that we wanted to watch and monitor, and our solution partners. And again, we used the full swath of HubSpot functionality in terms of classifications and things. So again, we were able to then spit things out into reports and be able to measure behavior over time and the trends, for example, geographic and the different categories and the different spends, etc. So we spent quite a little bit of time doing that. And in order for the teams to understand, so one of our philosophies is that support is sales and that everybody had a role to play. So we felt it was quite important that everybody got the information. So then we piped everything in from into Slack, and we had 3 channels for Slack. And of those 3 channels, Pete, did you want to run through those ones, or shall I keep going?
Oh, I can go into a bit of detail on that one. So in Slack, as Kate mentioned, just a lot of this information was piping through so people could actually see it. And I think it was pretty transparent. I think everyone in the company could see what was going on in these channels. Support conversations, new support conversations would go into one channel. New sales and sales conversations would go into another channel. And then there was one channel dedicated to the back and forth or the discussion between support team and engineering. And of course, being a small company, that was pretty much everybody. So we were all in those channels, but those are the 3 main ones that really just kept everyone aware of what was going on. I think we had some other like constantly updated channels as well around like sales and evals and stuff like that.
We were big on everyone knowing when we were selling and when we weren't.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to keep everyone close to knowing that, our livelihoods depended on what was coming in.
It was a bit like that. Yeah, the razor's edge, right? But if I could recap that, like what the flow of information was there. So we started at JIRA Service Management, and often that would be maybe a support ticket that would come in from a customer. I know you would often get on phone calls, use a tool like, I think we were on Calendly, maybe it was HubSpot, scheduling, whatever it was, jump on a call have that call with them, those notes would then get either put into HubSpot, and I'll go into detail about who we watched in HubSpot, or they would go into Confluence. And I guess that split there, we used HubSpot, as you said, pretty judiciously because of the cost. Being a startup, I think HubSpot was pretty expensive, so we figured out a way to sort of pare that back. So we tracked solution partner engagement explicitly in HubSpot with a lot of scoring and really tight grouping in that one. Key enterprise accounts was another area that we used HubSpot for, and then capturing that anyone that we met at like team or in-person events, they would usually get put into HubSpot, and we'd manage that from there. What would go into Confluence though, and where I think I got the most value, was a lot of those frequently asked questions from support, from those sales calls that you were doing, that would get fed back into Confluence. And I know it saved my, I don't want to beep anything out. It saved my behind a few times on support, being able to go into Confluence, find those frequently asked questions that we kind of kept internal, and I could turn those back around and answer questions pretty quickly.
And we also, by documenting quite methodically in Confluence, it allowed us to then flip it. So we talked about this before, but the rule of thumb is if we could make information public, we would. And we would either actually update our form on the request to say, you don't need to contact us if you actually have this problem. This is how you solve it. And that would save everybody's time, or we would then pump it out onto our public documentation.
Yeah, I think that the Confluence page was a bit of a staging area, wasn't it, for maybe the FAQs and use cases actually that would come through, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty simple tech stack. I think even to this day, we try to keep the tools to a minimum, despite my best efforts to find all the cool new things going on out there. But, JIRA Service Management.
You love your tools.
I do. It's a guilty pleasure of mine for some reason. But hey, so you're keeping me honest though, Kate. So JIRA Service Management, Slack, HubSpot, or the CRM of your choice, and Confluence. That's all we've used to build this feedback loop. Listen to your customers, listen to your partners, pipe that through Slack, get it into HubSpot, get it onto Confluence, and just keep that open internally. And I don't think there was really much that we didn't share, really.
And I think the only other thing to add is playbooks for internal teams. So making sure everyone understands what they've got to do.
Okay.
So that
give us more details on that one.
So essentially, we just documented the process, which is very boring, I know, but we would, once we'd gone around a few times, we thought, we need to, particularly when we actually moved to 24/5 support, and we had multiple time zones and people from different parts of the world were actually answering support for us. So all of that was quite critical to actually have the playbooks that this is what you do with this scenario, this is what you do with that scenario. And then usually every day or every couple of days, I would read all the tickets and then give feedback to people on their responses and stuff. So we just tried to all stay in sync in terms of learning about connecting with our customers.
I'd say that the simplicity in the stack is what makes that much, much easier. Right? Because if you're trying to go to too many places, it just becomes a nightmare of where do I put this? Where do I look for this?
Correct.
If there's one piece of advice, I don't think we'll say that you have to use these 4 tools, but I would say keep it to a minimum. Make sure that you're doing the jobs that you need and no more. And if you have someone like me on the team that's constantly looking for new tools, just make sure that you...
Oh, no, you had mates with you as well. Don't you worry about that.
I know. I get myself in trouble sometimes. But anyway, that's it. It's really not much more complicated than that, is it? So JIRA Service Management, Slack, HubSpot, and Confluence, and we managed to build that whole feedback loop and then push out a lot of great content that if you watch last week's video about high-touch sales, moving to low-touch sales, this is kind of how we did it.
Yep.
All right. Well, there you have it, everybody. Short and sweet this week. JIRA Service Management, Slack, HubSpot, and Confluence. You can build the systems. If you have any questions about how we did that in exact detail, setting up the Slack integration, all that sort of stuff, hit us up on LinkedIn. Always happy to help and share those details. Until next time, we'll see ya.
Take care, everybody, and more sales to you.
All right.
Cool.
Sweet.
Did I waffle?